please stay within the confines of the boat so we don't have any accidents. On our way up to Camden this morning, I should tell you some of the history of the canal and point out some things which you may find of interest. So we are currently on the Grand Union Canal. This canal opened in 1801 to bring goods from the industrial north of the country down to the south. The small island you see on the right of us here is called Browning Island. This is named after the English poet Robert Browning, who lived in this area and is said to have sat on the island to compose poetry. The Grand Union Canal goes around to the right of the island, up to the Paddock Basin where it comes to a stop. On the left-hand side of the canal, you can see a walkway. This is called the towpath. When the canals were first opened, the boats using the canals had no engines. So in order to navigate the canal system, a horse would have been tethered to the front of the boat. The horse would walk along the towpath, towing the boat behind it, hence the name the towpath. As we pass underneath this bridge, we will be entering the Regent's Canal. This canal opened in 1810 to bring goods further into London and to bring from the docks. A small brick building you see on the left of us, just here was once a toll house. And here the canal users are going to have to stop to pay their tolls. This is now a private residence. People live on these boats all of the year round. These are narrow boats, they are not houseboats, even though they are people's homes. All of these boats are connected to the electricity supply system. And on board the boats, they have running water and flushing toilets. The people that live on the boats cook using bottled gas. And in the winter, they heat their boats with either wood or coal-fired burners. Their waste, water and sewage is pumped out of pump stations, which are situated along the canals. Or they have pump-out boats, which come in and pump out their waste for them and take it to the sewage works. None of their waste goes into the canal. All of the canals were dug out by hand. Many of the men that worked on the construction of the canals were migrants from Ireland, many of whom had a naval background, and they became known as navvies. Today, we have more and more people choosing to live on boats on the canals, as it's generally much cheaper to purchase a boat than it is to purchase a property, especially in our largest cities, such as London, Manchester, and Birmingham, all of which have interconnecting canal systems. Factors people would take into consideration when purchasing a boat would be the age of the boat, the size of the boat, and the condition of the boat. Inside the tunnel, there are no tow cars. So back when horses were towing boats along the canals, the horse would have been untipped at the bottom of the hill, coming up on the left. The horse would have been walked over the hill and would wait for the boat at the other end. In order to get through the tunnel, the crew would have to lie a plank of wood across the front of the boat. A member of the crew would lie either end of the plank, on their backs with their legs stretched and their feet on the wall of the tunnel. And they would walk the boat through the tunnel. This is called legging a boat. This particular tunnel is only 250 meters in length. But there are some tunnels on the canals which are up to 3 miles in length. So as expected, you had to make a fully laden boat through a 3-mile tunnel. You certainly know about it by the time you got to the end of the tunnel. I'll speak to you again when we get to the other end. Thank you. The horse would once again be tethered to the front of the boat. I'ma continue towing the boat, and only for now. A single horse could tow a boat with a cargo weighing up to 20 tons in weight. Effective fully grown adults should be able to tow a fully laden boat along the canal. As you enter this bridge up ahead of us, we look to the left of the bridge. Underneath the bridge is a marking down towards the bottom. You'll notice a number of deep grooves in the metalwork. These grooves have been caused over many years by ropes constantly rubbing against the metal as horses towed boats along the canal, leaving these marks in the metalwork. This area of the canal is called the Wide. We're in the Little Grove area of London, and this is the widest section of the canal between Little Venice and Camden, and is any section of the canal wide enough to allow a boat of this length to be able to safely turn around should it need to. The boats which you see more on our left along here, these again are all on permanent moorings, and again people live on these boats all of the year round. This was once a coal-fired power station, but as you know, no longer burn coal in the city because of the pollution. This has been converted into an electricity station. Prior to the construction of this section of the canal, this is where Lord Cook's ground used to be. When they began building the Canal Lord's cricket ground was moved to its current location, which is just beyond the power station in St. John's Wood. Children from as young as 6 years old were after working on the canal boats alongside their parents. The children would have had no formal schooling, as they would have been continuously traveling up and down the canal system. It might seem harsh for children to be working on canal boats. You have to remember that in Victoria, England, children were often sent up the chimneys to sweep the chimneys. And I suspect many more children died stuck in the chimneys than ever died by working on a canal boat. On the right-hand side of the canal, you can see a number of very large properties. These properties have been designed in the manner of John Nash. However, as they are less than 6 years old, they were not designed by him, just in the manner of John Nash. These properties are only available on a lease basis. The reason why these properties sold a few years ago were reported some at £20 million, as all of these properties are built on Crown Estate land. Part of the revenue from the properties goes to the Crown Estate. Crown Estate, it helps to pay for the upkeep of the English royal palaces and all the upkeep of the English royal family. On the other side of where these properties sit is the home to the American ambassador to the United Kingdom. This property is also on Crown Estate land, and in fact, the whole of Regent's Park belongs to the Crown Estate and is one of London's royal parks. This bridge, coming up ahead of us, is called the Tyburn Bridge. And within the Tyburn Bridge flows the Tyburn River. The Tyburn is one of a number of hidden rivers in London. These are rivers which continue to flow through London, but which now flow mostly underground. The Tyburn, however, it continues to flow through this bridge. It flows underneath Buckingham Palace and eventually empties into the River Thames. This bridge coming up ahead of us here is called the Applefield Bridge. This is also known as a blow-up bridge. And the reason it has the name blow-up bridge is back in the early 1900s, a boat which was carrying a cargo of gunpowder accidentally exploded underneath the bridge, both killing the crew of the boat and destroying the bridge. The columns that you see today on either side of the canal are from the original bridge and were used again in its reconstruction. An example of very positive recycling. The towpath towing boats along behind them. The towpath is very popular with walkers, joggers and cyclists, and is a very pleasant way of getting from one side of London to another. In fact, sailing down here this morning, amongst all this tranquility and the green and the wildlife on the canal, it's difficult to imagine that we are only 2 miles away from central London. We are now passing through London Zoo, which is one of the oldest zoos in the world and opened in the mid-1800s. On the right-hand side of the canal are the enclosures of the wolfhounds and the African hunting dogs, which you can occasionally see in their enclosures as you go past them. Coming up on the left-hand side of the canal is the Snowdon Aviary. This was designed in the 1960s by the late Lord Snowdon. Unfortunately, a few years ago, the aviary began to fall into disrepair and all the birds had to be relocated. They were going to pull the aviary down, but as it's a Grade 2 listed building, they have now repurposed it into a Primark enclosure. London Zoo is operated by the Zoological Society of London, who are committed to the conservation of endangered species. Just 3 years ago at their Whipsnade Park facility, they introduced to the world two newborn white rhinos. The white rhino are critically endangered in the wild, as they have been for a long time. This would indicate that their conservation programs do have positive results. Looking directly ahead of us is the famous Shanghai Chinese restaurant. And just to the right of the restaurant where these narrow boats are moored, the canal used to go down past these narrow boats, furthering towards central London. This section of the canal was filled in after the Second World War, when the canals were being used less and less for irrigation purposes. The canals began to be revitalized again in the 1960s, when more and more people began to use the canals, both for leisure purposes and for living on. Today, the canals are the traffic, where along with the hospital on Tuesday, work to maintain the integrity, as some people still think it's reasonable to throw your rubbish into the canal. This is not only a danger to the wildlife that live on and in the canal, it's also a hazard to boat users of the canal. We are now coming into the Primrose Hill area of London. Among Primrose Hill is another very expensive area in which to live. Primrose Hill itself is the highest natural point in London. And if you want to at the top of Primrose Hill, you get a fantastic panoramic view over the city. Ahead and to the right of us here is the Pirates' Castle. This organization works primarily with children and younger people, some of whom have additional health needs. They work with them on the canal, teaching them boating skills using kayaks, canoes, and paddleboard. This organization is run primarily by volunteers and depends for much of its funding on volunteer donations. We are now coming into Camden Town. Camden Town was once a very industrial part of North London. This white building you see here on the right is once a Gilby gin factory. This has now been converted into studios and waterfront apartments. Similarly, the building on the left was once an industrial unit. This too has now been converted into waterfront apartments, which I'm sure cost a lot of money to purchase. Today, Camden Town is more famous for its market, its many restaurants and bars. Camden Town is where the band Madness first found fame, and serves as the former home to the late singer, Amy Winehouse. Look at that, Camden Lock. If you want to go down through Camden Lock this morning, you could go down to the Limehouse Basin, and through a series of further locks, you would eventually come down to the River Thames. But we're going to be turning left here. As we're heading towards our morning, I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you all very much for traveling with Dr. Away. This morning, I do hope that you enjoyed your trip, and hopefully we'll see some of you again sometime. You please remain seated until I say so. Would like to show your appreciation to the crew. That would be very kind of you. And if you wish to do so, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. In the meantime, I wish you all a very good rest of your day.